Stephen Ministry exists to give one-on-one Christian care to men and women who are in need. We're here to listen, to support, and to comfort individuals when they're in a crisis.
In August of 2006, my family and I moved so we could spend more time together. 3 weeks after the move, my 16-year-old son died by suicide.
Stephen Ministers are dependable caregivers. While they're not professional counselors or therapists, they are trained and supervised lay volunteers.
I was devastated. I missed my son so deeply. While I found the strength to meet the needs of my family, there was no one here for me.
Each caregiver has been given 50 hours of instruction before they're even approved to become a caregiver. We attempt to match the needs of the individual with the background.
There were no requirements, no pressure was put on me. I was free to share my fears and my pain in my own way. I could pick up the phone any time, day or night, and know that he'd be there.
Stephen Ministers keep all personal information confidential. We want men and women to feel completely free to share their stories.
My Stephen Minister helped support my faith and my life when I needed it.
Stephen Ministers are here after the divorce papers have been served, after the pink slip is in your hand, and after that relationship has hit the wall. We are ready to come alongside of you and support you as long as we are needed.
Life can be very hard. Sometimes people die. There's a lot of uncertainty. Life's not very predictable. If you're like me, you feel stress often. You don't know what the future holds. You're worried about what people think about you. You have grief in your life that you don't really know how to get through. And it can be hard. You need a friend. You need someone to talk to. And I know that when I've gone through lonely periods in my life, times where I'm just kind of by myself with all my worries, with all my fears, it kind of consumes me, it kind of eats me alive. But then there's other times where I've been fortunate enough to have people that kind of come alongside me, that I can vent, that I can kind of just spew my junk out and just say, hey, this is what I'm going through. So the Stevens Ministry is a group of people who care. They're trained. They're not pastors, they're not professionals in the sense of being a therapist or a counselor. But they're definitely there to care for people, no matter what your issue is. So if you're having a rough time coping with loss, with grief, with stress, Stephen's Ministry is for you. If there are things that you're wrestling through, things that are plaguing you, things that are preventing you from getting the kind of sleep that you want to get every night, if you don't have a clear conscience about stuff, Stephen's Ministry is for you.
February the 6th, 1991 is a day that I'll never forget. It's the date when I discovered our 18-year-old son, Denny, had died in his sleep. My world was turned upside down as me and my whole family struggled for years to find a new normal. To be honest, my life was a mess as I struggled with my anger toward God and my feelings of total despair. People would often come to me and ask me how my wife Beulah and Andy were doing. And I wondered when someone would come and ask how I was doing. And then one day it happened. Ed Downs came to me and said, Dennis, I want to meet you at Jumpin' Catfish. And so we met there, and after we'd ordered our food, he turned, looked me straight in the eye, and he said, now Dennis, I want to know how you're doing. And across the years, I've come to realize how important it is to have someone to journey with us when we go through the valleys, the tough times. As pastors here at the church, we have people coming in nearly every day with stories that can break your heart. People who have just received the diagnosis of cancer, stories of unemployment, sadness because a loved one has died. We hear stories of divorce, and we see the pain on the faces of those who've been rejected by someone who once loved them. Well, the list goes on, and sometimes as pastors, we feel like firemen, just running from one fire to another. To be honest, we need help with dealing with some of the tough things that life throws. We have a wonderful ministry here at the church called the Stephen Ministry. And in this ministry, Stephen Minister is matched up one-to-one, a man with a man, a woman with a woman. And the Stephen Minister is given 50 hours of training, and then we commission them, and then we assign them to one of these hurting people. And you meet with them at least an hour a week. We provide excellent training so that you know how to be a good listener and you know how to deal with the grief of the person that you're with.
We began Stephen Ministry 20 years ago. I can go to sleep at night knowing that there are about 20 people receiving quality Christian care from a Stephen minister. Now, I, as a pastor, don't have another 20 hours a week that I can give in order to give them that kind of quality of care. And so it's just a delight to know that they're being taken care of in their time of need.
As Joy bundles up to brave the cold weather, she shares some warm thoughts with her new friend Janet. See, they both have something in common. They went through critical times in their lives where they needed more than just a friend. And fortunately for them, their churches had just what they needed.
I was a teacher, and I retired a little early because I wasn't doing my job the way I expected to be doing it. I wasn't doing it well. And just shortly after I retired, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor.
It was during that difficult time in Joy's life that someone from a new ministry in her church contacted her, simply offering companionship.
For me, it was very important. It was absolutely important. Each minister from this church came, but they can't come every week. You don't expect that. Friends tended to stay away because my face was bloated. I couldn't remember things. I wasn't the person they remembered. And some of them were not comfortable coming around. Others came around and brought me wholesome food and encouraged me and so on, and we laughed. But we didn't talk about things of the heart as I did with my Stephen minister. It's a different
Stephen minister is somebody to walk with them through that dark period in their life, that they're not alone, that somebody cares enough to take time and to spend with them. And when the initial crisis takes place, they are told, you call me day or night, I'll be there for you. And that's very reassuring to people.
Started in 1975 in St. Louis, Missouri, Stephen Ministry consists of members of local churches that are trained to provide care and support to those who have gone through traumatic experiences, from losing a loved one, a job, or even going through an illness, like Joy.
But I expected to recover very quickly, and really it took me much longer than I expected. And my Stephen minister kept encouraging me, and get up and walk, and are you doing your exercises? And she brought me readings, not long things because I couldn't concentrate too much, but prayers, and I know she brought me some Bonhoeffer to read. She just was always encouraging and listening.
And for many, an ear is all they need. Janet Wright Smith was also in need of someone to come alongside her during one of her darkest moments.
Well, about 11 years ago I developed a chronic illness, and it has peaks and valleys, and when it's peaks I'm still out there and I'm still me, and when it's valleys it's much more secluded lifestyle, and I'm a very communal, extroverted kind of person, and illness is often quite isolating. To have someone desiring to intentionally reserve a piece of time just for me, that they would stop by. We have dogs, and my Stephen minister would bring her dog, and it was just wonderful to have her time.
And that's what Stephen Ministry intends to provide, a safe place. That's what Joy received from her Stephen minister just a few years ago. And now healthy and whole, she knows this ministry helped her get to where she is today.
I heard that God cared for me, and she was a representative of God to me.
In Guelph, Ontario, Magdalene John, 100 Huntley Street.